Welcome back to my Financial Freedom channel. I'm Yvonne Davis, and a lot of you already know me, but for those of you who are new here, I just want to let you know that I am a graduate of the University of Denver. I had graduated with honors in economics and then went on for a master's degree in economics at the University of Denver. So I am also a small business owner and self-employed. So I just want to let you know that I actually do know what I'm talking about, not just from my formal education, graduating with honors from a very prestigious private school, but also my own experience being a self-employed small business owner for over a decade. And I want to talk about financial freedom because I know that there are a lot of people in this country right now who are really, really, really struggling. And actually, this economy, although it was touted as being, healthier than it had been like forever and prior to 2020. And the fact is that wasn't really true. The gap between the haves and the have-not was growing and expanding since at least the 1980s, possibly even before that, possibly even as early as maybe the late 70s or 70-ish, somewhere around there. But I know for sure that it actually did get worse in the 1980s because of this idea of trickle-down economics, which was also known as voodoo economics. And it instilled in people's minds the idea that the people who have value in this economy are people who create jobs. And really, we were sold, just a bad bag of goods, because the fact is, it has been proven that trickle-down economics doesn't actually work, and that's why we've seen that gap between the haves and the have-nots increase since 1980, but also because, again, it instilled us with this belief that the only people in the economy who have value are the ones who are creating jobs, which implies that the people who actually show up and work those jobs are somehow meaningless. So, I mean, if you kind of turn it around, if someone creates a job and nobody shows up to actually work that job, then there's no job, okay? So really what we needed to do was to change our way of thinking and to acknowledge that it's the people who actually show up every day and do the work who are the ones who have value. But anyway, like I said, we were sold a really tainted bag of goods where that one's concerned. And I'm really trying to turn around these misnotions that we were brainwashed into believing. So again, one of them is the idea that in trickle-down economics, and the idea that only people who create jobs have value in this economy, and therefore they shouldn't have to pay taxes, and they should get tax breaks, and they should get bailouts and all this stuff. And the other thing is the idea that you should spend money all the time, that we're consumers, which, in other words, if you think about it, consuming out of control is what a parasite does, what a cancer does. And so to associate us with that is incredibly insulting. It implies that we have nothing better to do but consume and create waste. And I think that that's an insult to the human spirit. And I believe that what humans are here for is to experience the fullness of being human. And humans need meaning. We don't just need jobs. We need meaning and purpose in our lives. We need creative outlets. And we need self-actualization. And self-actualization does not come from buying a new $400 pair of shoes, okay? Meaning in life comes from knowing that the actions you take impact others in a meaningful way. Everything is relational. And we've lost our capacity to a large degree. We've lost our capacity for relationship because all of our relationships have turned into transactions. And it's almost like turning lovemaking into prostitution. And what I want to do is I want to go back to what it means to really be human and what it means to have true relationships with other human beings and with the world around us. You know, we're living in the insanity of our capitalist system that is based on infinite growth and infinite consumption, even though we live on a finite planet. And many of us know in those rational moments that the math doesn't quite add up. And yet we continue to believe that those are our only options. But that's what they've done to us. They've brainwashed us to make us believe those are our only options. They've also brainwashed us to believe that only millionaires can be financially free. And that's not true. So we know right now that the economy is in trouble. And for those of us who are really paying attention, we also know that things are not going to go back to normal. And besides, like I said, the math was a mess anyway. We were brainwashed to believe things that weren't true. We were put on a treadmill of getting into debt and then having to work to just, maintain our heads above water. Why would we want to go back to that? And, the whole thing just didn't make sense. It sometimes makes me laugh because it's so utterly absurd. And, if you really, really sit down and think about it, you can see that the math just doesn't add up. And the other thing is that a lot of people are not educated about economics and monetary policy and what currency is and all of these other things. It's sort of like there's this secret club of people who actually know the truth. And the rest of the people, they just have to buy whatever they're fed. And it just doesn't add up. So what I'm here to do is to help you to understand what the economy really is, what monetary policy really is, how it works and where it's going, and what we can expect for the future, and to do it in a way that can hopefully be entertaining as well, because I don't want to bore you out of your mind, because that won't help, because then you'll just go, play Warcraft or something. So, all right, let me put it this way. We're not going back. We're not going back. The new normal is in the future. And I want to tell you what that looks like so that you can be prepared, okay? So the bad news is that things are going to get worse. And so you need to be prepared. It's just like, whenever you might have flown on a plane, they say, put your own oxygen mask on before you help someone else. Well, it's the same kind of idea, that you need to make sure that you've taken care of yourself and your family first. Because if you buy into the idea that it's your patriotic duty to go out and consume in order to keep the economy afloat, well, first of all, you're putting yourself at risk, because what if you lose your income? Or what if, basically, if you're watching this video, then either, well, you can't really be sitting in a public library right now, most likely. So either you're, maybe couch surfing at someone else's house and you're watching it on their computer, on their internet with their electricity, or you still probably have some income. Hopefully, I hope you have some income. But in this kind of unstable economy, we can't necessarily trust that that will always be true. And what you need to do is you need to protect yourself first and your family first, okay? It's not your patriotic duty to go out there and consume in order to hold up the entire economy. Because first of all, you can't do that by yourself. And secondly, really, if you think about it, we've been doing that for a long time now. And what we've ended up with is we've ended up with billionaires like Jeff Bezos who is the founder of Amazon, or Bill Gates, the founder of Microsoft, or Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook. And so they have become billionaires, and they're not suffering in this economy. Or Walmart, that's the other one, the Walmart family. They're definitely not suffering in this economy. But think about the people who are working on the ground at Amazon, at Walmart, or let's see who else, Target, you know. And I know from personal experience, because, you know, I had my days working those kinds of minimum wage jobs. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. And so I know firsthand what it's like. You know, I know firsthand what it's like to need money so badly that you get a job working in retail for the Christmas season. And actually applied one year, I applied to both Macy's and Target. And I thought Macy's would be the better job because they sell more high-end products. But it turned out that that was one of the worst jobs I ever had in my life. They only paid minimum wage, which you couldn't live on in the city I was living in. There was literally no way, even if you worked 40 hours a week. And they didn't even give people 40 hours a week. And they didn't give anybody any benefits. So I worked both jobs until I had to leave. And I knew I was going to have to leave one of them because they were going to start to, you know, be scheduled on the same day as we got closer and closer to the Christmas rush. But the thing about it was that when I quit Macy's, I had just really reached the end of my rope. I mean, I couldn't believe how badly they treated their employees, at least in the store I was at. But I assume that that was like a corporate culture. I just couldn't take it anymore. One day I signed out for lunch and I just clocked out for the day and I never went back. And yeah, it was just unbelievable the way they treated their employees, and they only paid minimum wage. They wouldn't give full time, no benefits. Target was a little bit better. They paid a little more money and they gave you full time, but I didn't get benefits either. And then in January, after the end of the Christmas season, I was laid off. And I had expected it. You know, I knew it was seasonal work, but still, it was boy, was that a lesson, especially because you know, I consider myself a fairly intelligent person, and so working in a service job for minimum wage without benefits was a real eye-opener. And I know there are a lot of people out there still who are in that position. So it's not your job to go out there and make Jeff Bezos any wealthier than he already is, or the Waltons any wealthier than they already is. That's the whole you know, faulty reasoning that we've been brainwashed into believing, is that it's our job to sustain this insane economy that's destroying the earth, and that isn't, you know, is creating billionaires, but then leaving other people on minimum wage where they can't even support themselves and they have no benefits. It's crazy. So what I want you to do in this program is to learn about economics. I'm going to have some really interesting and entertaining videos in a playlist for you to help you to understand the basics of economics and the basics of monetary theory, and also to begin to understand how to take care of yourself. I always think there are two sides to it. One side is the reduction of spending, and the other side is the increase of your income. And so I'm going to start out with the reduction of spending. And because I think that when you create some breathing space in your own monthly balance sheet, so to speak, in your monthly budget, that breathing space helps you to relax a little bit and start to think about the future in terms of how you can continue to bring in an income, and also make improvements where that's concerned, improvements in your income and improvements in the way you create income. So I'm going to start though with the reduction of spending. And I'm going to recommend this book, Your Money or Your Life. And I know it might sound paradoxical that I'm suggesting that you reduce your spending, and then first thing I do is say, hey, get this book. You know, you might be able to get it from the library, and also it's on audio. So, or, you know, use bookstore. I don't know if you can actually, obviously, probably not, maybe not be able to actually walk into a bookstore, but you can go to the library or you can get it on audio. So that's what I would suggest first, is just check your library, see if you can get this book in paperback or on audio. I actually like both because I learn more when I can listen and see and work with these exercises kinesthetically. And let's see what else. Yeah, and you know, if you do need to buy it, it's only let's see, it's in the US $18. It's a good investment, believe me. This is one of the best books I have ever read on personal finance, because it teaches you what currency is. And I also have a video called Valuing Your Life Energy that's based on the concepts in this book, which you can get in, you know, on my channel, Financial Freedom. And so that's the first thing I want to suggest. This is one of the texts that I will be working with as I make these videos. So my first thing is for you is to understand that unfortunately things are going to get worse before they get better. I'm just assuming eventually they'll get better, but we're not going back to the way things used to be. And why would we want to? It was a mess. It was a mess of brainwashing where the numbers just did not add up. So it's time for us to wake up and start taking care of ourselves and our families, so that you don't end up being, you know, some of the people out there. Well, you may already be on unemployment, but hopefully you're not. Or either way, at least you still have an income. If you are unemployed, then you've also got time to work on developing new sources of income that can help you to possibly become self-employed, doing what you are passionate about. But first and foremost, you've got to reduce your expenses. So that's where I'm going to be focusing on first. All right, so this was just to introduce you to where I'm going with this channel for now. There will be other things later, but for now I am going to focus on understanding where we're going with this economy and trying to help you become viable, basically, so that you aren't one of the increasing number of homeless people in this country. We have an epidemic of homelessness and unemployment in this country that in some senses even worse than the other epidemic, which has brought this about. And in a way, it can be seen as a gift, because we had to change anyway. The system we were under was not working, and we needed to wake up and find a new way to exist. And so, you know, it's tragic in many ways, but we can also see the opportunity in this crisis. And so I don't want you to end up in a worst case scenario, like so many Americans are right now. So that's my goal. So I hope you can get access to this book, and we'll come back and continue watching these videos, because whether or not you have the book, I am going to continue to present these videos. Oh, one more thought is, like I said, you might be able to get this through the public library, but if not as a physical book or a physical audio book, you may be able to get the digital version of the book in audio. So definitely try that out first, because I mean, our public, at least in Colorado and in Denver, our public library system has absolutely been phenomenal. So I definitely recommend you check that out first. Okay. All right. So that's it for today. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time.